It's a beautiful Monday afternoon on Nigeria Now, where we will be looking at some of the stories that are actually currently breaking in the country, especially in regards to that of them looking at education, where we have Sanwan Nasu that have begun their strike today. We have seen that they have withdrawn some of their services. So presently, if you go to some of the varsities, activities have been grounded, and also where we've also seen that the president of the country, Tinubu, have said that those who actually slay the soldiers need to be brought to book. Not only him, we've seen even the presidential candidate of the PDP, as well as Labour and Senate, have actually also called that a lot of things need to be done concerning that. I'm Salah Elisha Dasham. Remember, you can follow us live via Facebook and YouTube. Drop your comment, your views and opinion as well on any of these matters we will be looking at this afternoon. And I have Rachel Tanza with me. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sele.
All right, without much waste of time, we'll go straight into the conversation of the day. And I would like us to start with the issue of the slave soldiers that happened in Delta State on Thursday. And we've seen that from Thursday down to Saturday to Sunday, a lot of things have been happening in the country, especially in that part of the country in Delta State. We've seen that about 16 soldiers lost their life, and according to reports, these soldiers actually went there for peacekeeping because they tend to be a communal clash between these two communities, where we've seen that one of the communities actually slay about 3 people from one of the communities, and then that was where soldiers needed to be deployed there to be able to keep the peace. And then we're even informed that even the police force were also involved in all of these things, and then we're seeing that was when, possibly out of retaliation or out of anger, we've seen that about 12 soldiers actually lost their life, and we've seen that there have been kind of a reprisal coming from the soldiers, because we've seen that a number of houses have been set ablaze from those 2 communities. Now we've seen that the president have come out, even though a number of people have come out to say the reprisal from the soldiers is not the right way forward. There are better ways to actually bring whoever or the people are to book, rather than let's say the soldiers taking matters into their hands. A number of people have lost their home because of that. But we're seeing that no word have actually come from the president regarding the reprisal. Rather, he has saying that they should actually take whatever it will take to bring those behind this to book. Now we're seeing in the time where we're still having a countdown to the over 200 students that have been kidnapped, we've seen that fresh attack keeps taking place, especially in Kaduna. We're seeing that fresh abduction over and over. You can't just help but ask the question, exactly what did the bandits keep there? Now, this killing of the soldiers is not far-fetched from the issue of insecurity, because regardless of how we want to view this, we're still looking at the fact that people's lives were being taken as a result of certain activities coming from people. Now, what can we do? Because this is not the first time we're having soldiers being killed in their line of assignment, or we're seeing that whether civilians are being killed as a result of communal clash. What can be done proactively, looking at even coming from the state level, because we're looking at the states where this happened? What can happen, or what can be done from the local government to the state level up to the federal level, where we can see that our soldiers will end up losing their life when it comes to communal clash? How can this be rectified? Because this communal clash can be traced back to January. That was when this whole thing started. Now we are in March and it's over, almost getting to 2 months now. What can be done? Peradventure we have something like this coming up again. What approach should the government take so we don't see that innocent people end up dying as a result of carelessness, or as a result of issues like this coming in relation to communal clashes?
Sele, the more I go through this story, the more a lot of things don't add up for me.
Of course.
And it doesn't make sense for me. And we can go to post-attack. What do soldiers have with reprisal attack? That's a civilian attitude. Why are we having our soldiers acting like common men and people? What business does a soldier have with reprisal attack? You're angry that your men were being killed. Do the needful. Go after the people and then get those criminals, those that are responsible for this attack. But a reprisal attack is not supposed to be associated with the military. It's not even supposed to be associated with any force agency in the country. It's unheard of. And it keeps telling us our mind. It keeps telling us how we do things. Now, some of the things that don't add up for me, Sele, is that it's one of the things I started talking about in the morning. You're on a peacekeep on another local government. And if there happen to be a communal clash in another local government through community clashing, why are you on peacekeeping answering to a distress call in another local government? That is not what took you there. That is not. That's you leaving your mission and going to another mission that was just by the way. So whether you like it or not, you are going into a situation you do not have enough information with, you do not have tactics, you do not even know what you're stepping into. And when you see our military making such mistakes, you can't help but wonder, no wonder they are still not able to deal with Boko Haram terrorists. For example, are you supposed to be the one being called for distress and communal this thing? Oh, no, I keep saying it is. That is not the. That is why you were on a peacekeep somewhere else. And as much as you look like the closest person, doesn't mean you should run into it, because military is supposed to assess the situation, and until it is above civilian security agency, which is the police precisely, then before you step in. And it's always the last and the least option until everything. Now, there are many sides to the story. But before I go to the other sides of the story, we've seen Jos crisis. And it has been one of the most deadliest and one of the, very terrible one. We know what Jos crisis is, and it has been a religious crisis, for example. And we've had soldiers and police step in. But no soldier lost their lives as much as this. I'm not there, but it's a community. For Jos, it was a whole local government. You understand? It's not as big as that. It's bigger than that community. We knew how the Jos crisis erupt all over Jos metropolitan area.
And even outside of
And when soldiers intercept, nobody was killed. But we are having a communal clash with 4 high-ranking officers going there and then be killed. And then the reports also have it that when their body were being retrieved by somewhere, beheaded, heart, stomach, it looks premeditated. So what were these soldiers stepping? These are the things that don't add up to me concerning why did they have to be the one to go and intercept. And looking at the nature of their deaths and what happened eventually and has been retrieved, there's more to that. There's so much more to that, because why would 2 majors, for example, go to intercept a communal clash? How? What for? 2 majors and captains to go and intercept communal clash, and you would deploy majors, 4 high-ranking officers and 12 others to go and intercept a communal clash? And then I can't help but wonder, where are we heading towards in Nigeria? Like, is nobody doing their job? Because obviously everybody's just doing whatever they want at the detriment of either the people or the organizations themselves. Because now we have soldiers are they supposed to go and intercept, majors going to intercept communal clash and all of that? I can't just help but reason. And then we have Senator for that zone coming out to say these soldiers were on a rescue mission to go, and that is one side of the story again, coming to rescue that were being kidnapped. And then the question is, why is it still the soldiers? This is a community. This is not Sambisa Forest. This is not Chibok. This is not Dapchi. This is not where we know it is terrorists that have abducted hundreds and hundreds of people. In the case of Kaduna, it's okay if we see soldiers going to do the rescue mission, because these are armed bandits, these are terrorists, regardless of how we call them. These are terrorists in whatever form they take. When we see soldiers being deployed for such missions, it's understood. But something in a community, and then you just can't. These are the things that don't add up for me. And I just hope that the truth, the whole truth, eventually we will get to know, because I don't understand how top-ranking military officers
get involved
will
in
be
this.
deployed to go and intercept a communal clash. This is where I don't just understand it. And until we start getting out, you're on a peacekeep mission. Why are you being called? Even if you're being called, you redirect them. You're leaving your peacekeep to go and do the work that did not take you there. That's already not even acceptable in the first place. Except if you had some order from the top. Don't act like you're an emergency response. That's police work. Police are emergency response, not soldiers. And these are the things that we keep talking, and we can see how we are leaving our work. No wonder the work that is supposed to be done is not being done, and we are just all over the place, and we can't get anything right in Nigeria. So I just hope that we start getting things right in the country, Sele. If not, we'll keep seeing more and more of things like this that cannot be explained.
You know, Rachel, you really raised a very valid point. Something seems not to be adding up in this whole story. Reason why? Because you tend to wonder. You gave example with the Just Crisis. Let's even go far back to when it started in 2001.
Yeah.
We knew how deadly that whole thing was, and then the number of casualties we had. And even if a soldier sustained injury, I remember vividly, that was the first time I was seeing the soldier, and then I was extremely scared because it was very rare for you to see soldiers mingling with civilians as of that time. But the seriousness, permit me to use that word, of what was happening actually needed the intervention of the military to come in. I think that was when we started having soldiers coming into the town properly from that 2001 crisis. That was when you could actually have easy access to soldiers. And you and I have mentioned the fact that our military are beginning to lose relevance because of how regular they are becoming. And then you see them on an everyday basis. No wonder you could actually pass a military man and eye him because we feel he's becoming equal. Now let's go back to this communal clash. It tends to be more to it because reading other parts of the whole scenario that happened, I wonder what guards civilian will have the right to be exchanging gunshots with the military man. What warranted that? Did the military take something that belonged to the community that these people wanted to actually retaliate? Or what really is the problem? Because this looks beyond just 3 men who were being killed and then their bodies were being taken to Okoloba community, and they were saying that Okoma saying that we needed help coming from the police force, and eventually we're having a military coming in. So just like the president is saying that the people behind it should be brought to book, I just hope that thorough investigation will be done concerning the real truth behind this, because I am more concerned about people who had to vacate their homes because of the reprisal coming from the military men. And we're seeing that as a chief in charge of armed force, talking about the president, you have not called them back. And we know the way the military work. They work based on order. A military man cannot shot a gun until he's being asked to go ahead and do that. We know the way they operate. It's different from the way policemen operate. Just like you mentioned, police are more like emergency. When you have a problem in your house, the police, it has even got to a point that even if you're having crisis, husband and wife, it's the police sometimes go, and then you are being redirected to the department that is in charge of all that. So we just hope that detail of this whole thing, because it tends to be we're just having skeletal stories about this whole thing. I hope that the real truth behind this whole thing, I do not know what the governor of the state have to say concerning that, or the councillor in charge of these two communities have to say concerning this communal clash, but it looks like it's just more than a land issue. We've always have issues of land in other parts of the country. Delta is not the first. So why is their own looking more deadly than just a normal land clash, whatever it is? So just like you rightly mentioned, we hope that more concerning this story will be surfaced, and that we just hope that a better approach can be taken to bring those behind this to book. Now let's take a look at what's happening at the educational scene. Last week, you and I made mention of the fact that SANU and NASU gave a letter to the federal government concerning a warning strike that was coming. First and foremost, they gave them the warning because we remember in 2021, there was a strike of about 8 months whereby the entire federal varsities were being shut down. And then when they came back, there was a policy that was giving no work, no pay policies by the Buhari regime. But then we saw that ASU have actually been paid their 4 months salary from there, and even their 2022 arrears. But then it seems Sanu and Nasu were being left out of this whole thing, so it looks more like it was a partial payment. While one body was paid, another body was not being paid of this. And after giving a warning, the federal government did not adhere to it. And then we saw last week they said they're going to give a letter to the government of 1 week warning strike, which is actually starting today. And after the 7 days warning strike, if the government did or do not do something about it, they're going on a full strike. Right now, presently, if you go to the universities, a number of non-academic staff are at home, so nothing is actually working. Definitely there will be no power for students in the hostel. So you know what that entails when we have even non-academic staff getting involved. That means even the security man will not open the gate for students.
That's what it means.
That is what this whole thing means. Now, what is actually bothering me is the fact that the Minister of Education, Rachel, said he is not aware. And I just wonder how we operate in this country. This is a ministry, or this is a body that is under you, whether you like it or not. As a Minister of Education, anything concerning education, even as low as the primary schools, you should be informed of it, because you have commissioners that report to various levels, and then you get to know what is happening everywhere. But here is it, we are having our beloved minister saying he's not aware. We're having the Minister of Labour, he has not even called, she Nkiruka has not called them to say this is it, let's negotiate, what is it, nobody's saying anything, and then they are just watching the way this whole thing is going to run. Now, each time we have issue like this, I keep saying, Rachel, why is it that we have grown to that level in this country that nothing works until we have a threat coming from a union? It's either resident doctors are threatening to go on strike before we see something is being done. It's either we are seeing labor is threatening a strike before wages is being paid. Now we are having SAN and NASU also threatening a full-blown strike. And this is where we begin to see series of meetings upon meetings, and then either the meeting will end in deadlock as usual.
As usual, Sele,
so now what is going to be different out of it? Because I'm just considering students, Richard. Imagine a student who is actually reading medicine. Let's go back to 2021. 8 months has already been gone. They are those in their final level right now. What will this strike actually implement? What will this strike mean to them? And I keep saying we always go about doing things forgetting that there are people that are suffering. Believe me, somebody is gaining from this strike, whether we like it or not, Rachel. So how can we actually feel? Because we actually try to see how we can recommend and actually give hope in situations like this. Because that is why we have Nigeria now in the first place, to bring to the front line, this is what is happening, and then provide solution where we feel there should be one. What can the government do differently? Because the approach is always the same: strike, meeting, then we come back, and then that's how this whole thing be. And then we'll say, okay, we'll give you 1 month arrears, please go back to the school, students are suffering. This is how we always see these things going.
There was once a time that strike was a language that the federal government understood, or the government entirely, but currently it's not. If they did care about warning strike, we will not be where we are. Looking at memorandums of understanding that have been signed with the NLC, TUC, every other union, and now we are seeing that NASU and then the senior staff association also are going to go on strike and all of that. The simple thing Nigerian government is supposed to do, Sele, not rocket science. Pay this salary. Why are you hoarding the money? It's not your own. It's federal government money. It's still not your own. It's still every other person's money. You're just the administrator of this fund. Pay it. Don't treat these people as if they didn't have the right to go on a strike in the first place. They did. And it's as the result of your inactions. I keep saying it, there is nothing. There is, this is my philosophy about government. This is my school of thought, and there's nothing that will make me think otherwise. The government is established for a reason, and you are put there to do what a common man cannot do. Except if there is no government, then before we can point hand to individuals and say something like it is our responsibility to grow Nigeria, unless we do not have an existing government. But as long as we have an existing government, there's only little or nothing your good patriotism can add to the growth of this country. That is why the government is a representation of who we are, to champion the cause. If you can employ one person, Sele, the government can employ 1 million people.
True.
For example, if only you want to keep the law, there are 5,000 other people that are willing to break the law. It is a government responsibility to make sure that those 5,000 people, whether they like it or not, they respect it. So whether we like it or not, if there was never a need for these organizations or unions to go on a strike in the first place, they won't go. If the government had come to their aid, listened and met their demands, they will have no reason whatsoever. I am NASU, you are the federal government, and I come to you and I tell you, this is my working condition. I need this, and put in place. Sele, as the government, if you put it in place, what right do I have to go on a strike?
Of course not.
I keep giving you long rope. For example, you refuse to, and tomorrow I need to do something to make you listen, because if we continue like that, I will become inefficient and look like I am not working in my position, whereas you are the one with the resources to make my work easy for me and for me to be productive, and you are not being able. So let me tell you, when we keep hearing people say, play your part, the government cannot do anything. It is the failure of the government that has been rubbed on us subconsciously, that we keep telling ourselves certain things like, you should also play your own part and build Nigeria. How long have you been playing your part? How many parts of Nigeria can you build as an individual without the government playing a major role in it? But when the government has failed, they come and start telling you things like, play your own part, we cannot do everything. No, you are expected to do everything. You are expected to do everything. When you look at civic rights and duty, you will know that the government is expected to do a lot, and their failure will not even allow you to carry out your duties as an indigene of that state or government and all of that. Why did they go on the strike in the first place? You did not act upon their request. Are those requests outrageous? And that's the most annoying part. When you look at the request ASU is making, is it out of place to ask for that? No. Who is in control of the economy? The government. If you fail to make the economy conducive and you have unions coming to say you did not make it conducive, this is our demand, who is to blame for this? Is it you that have failed to make the economy well, or who, and all of that? So it's the same thing. So don't make it look like at first they didn't have the right to go on that strike, and now you're punishing them for going on a strike that they wrongfully went for it, when it's still every finger points back to you. Let the Nigerian government wake up, Sele. If not, we will remain where we are. Because NASU will eventually go on this strike, nothing will be done, and they will be forced to still come back. And just as you said, that's the way the university operate. If it was ASU going on strike, and ASU will not have any job to do. So everything at a standstill, the gate will not be open, light, water will be cut from students, no security, nothing whatsoever. You can't go to the bursary to do anything. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. Even if lecturers decide to come, they may close the classes, because they are in charge of the faculty. At the end of the day, they keep it, they will lock it, they make sure everything is safe and sound, they clean. They are the ones in charge of the upkeep of every facility in the school.
Needed, so we can't say anybody's job is more important.
Exactly. So either way, still the university is going on strike because they don't function. Whether it's not academic stuff, it's still also, let the government work.
Honestly,
let the work
they really do need to work, Rachel, and that's why we keep calling on the government to do right by us, because just like we said, the fingers are still pointing back to the government to do their job. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this with me. And thank you to our viewers. Thank you to our supporters for keeping this moment again with us on Nigerian Now. Until we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, please do have a blessed day ahead.